history on this map compared to Chaos's is really bad, especially in EUL. Yes, I get it, Russian Major League, but when you know your opponent the way that VP knows Empire, that's a completely different beast. So, a little bit concerned for VP going onto a map that has not favored them well.
The big story for me for VP this whole stage, and this kind of carries across since the very start of day one, obviously now we're coming into day number 5, was when are we going to see all 3 lights come on at once? When are we going to see Milan, Pasha, and Rask all stepping up and delivering? And for the first time the other day, we saw that come out against Na'Vi. Every single one of them absolutely smashed Na'Vi to pieces 7-1. I've been waiting to see that all stage long, and I'm really glad that that is now starting to come to light. If that happens again today, here against Chaos, I think they absolutely bury Chaos here on Consulate, despite this being a map that Chaos aren't too dissimilar with. They do really like this map. They've played here quite a lot in the Nordics too. So in my mind, be mindful. This is a good map for Chaos, but if Virtus.pro play how they did last play day, this could be a very, very fast game.
Well, a couple of the analysts were talking about a Nomad ban, and guess what? It will not be here. So, okay, VP gets to run it. Maybe, okay, the players haven't been able to use her operator specifically to her full capacity, but a mute ban will come out as well. And we've been seeing that a lot on Coastline, for example, which is really funky. I love it. Now we get to see it on Consulate as well. That's big because droning is probably the most integral part of clearing attack-heavy maps like Coastline, and Consulate is kind of swaying that way as well. I mean, you and I talk about it a bit, Des, so I'm wondering whether or not that's the reason for that ban.
Quite possibly. It's more the control on the side, definitely, with the Valkyrie. That mute, more and more teams are rolling it out, but here, at least, when seeing things like the mirror being left in, that's going to get dragged out here by renewals. Chaos kicking things off in lobby and press. Probably going to see a setup coming through here, both upstairs and on the ground floor. Wouldn't be surprised to see one mirror window committed to bathroom, the other upstairs into a hold up there to try and waste as much time as possible. And I think it was actually last week in one of the games that we saw where Joystick going off 1v4 big in the last round between G2 versus Empire. We saw a lot of this kind of time-wasting attempts going on upstairs for the defenders, but the attackers a couple of times just completely ignored what was going on upstairs, and well, we saw the damage that came to inflict in a couple of cases, as the server itself apparently is damaged. Things have indeed frozen up, so I imagine we'll cut back to us in just a second, get that rectified, and jump back in just a few moments.
Well, I can kind of see what was going to go down, whether or not we get an unfrozen screen or whether or not it's all okay for our viewers. I'm not sure, but you're right. One of those bathroom mirrors, it'll get plastered up on that little small wall that looks through antechamber, kind of over to default plant. I mean, you can see if someone runs in, that's a good mirror in its own right. I'm hoping the second one goes upstairs and is able to hold the upstairs, because once you lose that, you lose a lot of that control on this particular site. Who was the team we cast last week who also chose lobby as their penultimate? Was it G?
It was G2. It was G2. No, it was Empire. G2? And Empire clutched, didn't they?
Was?
You remember?
It doesn't.
Yeah, because it was Joystick on the top floor, 1v4 on the smoke with the SMG.
Oh, no, I mean, it's their first round. They decided to go there and they played it quite horribly.
I can't remember.
I can't remember who it was.
Someone did it, and clearly they're in just as bad books, so be careful.
Yes. Look, there's been a couple of teams that have chosen lobby as their first site, and I can understand, especially if you have a particular setup for lobby, that the team might be taken off guard and go, oh, I'm prepared for downstairs and I have a hard bridge and I don't need it for lobby attack, or, oh, I've got this for top floor, but I don't need it for a lobby attack. And I kind of like that thinking. I think that's a really smart way of playing it. And now that they still have a mirror in play as well, we've seen that this can do a lot of damage to attacking teams, stall them out a lot. You don't have a lot of time in Siege as it already begins with. So mirrors, I like to get rid of her, but you know, what do I know? I'm just a plat 1 player, so.
I got a question for you out the bat though, and this is a really curious one for me to see coming out here on Consulate. Not really a map that's famed for its heavy hard breach requirement, unlike some other maps like Clubhouse, for example. Yet in this round, we saw Virtus.pro starting out at both the Maverick and the Ace coming alongside each other. Unusual? Expected? What are your thoughts on that?
I think you could bring Ace, even if you're going to be hitting a site where you're like, wait, I might not even ever use these Selmas, because it can be used on shields, it can be used next to gadgets, it can be used on a whole host of things. Plus you got the smokes, plus you got the AK. I think there's so much good rolled into Ace that even if you weren't going to be doing hard breaching, there's so much else that makes him viable. A Maverick is super specific though. If you wanted frags, why not take a sledge? Why not take, I don't know, even a Finker? There's a lot of redeeming factors in other grenade holding operators that I would really think about. Maverick makes me think that they would have thought it would have been downstairs first. Absolutely.
I got to ask as well, why is your camera so high? You moan about mine being so low all the time, but you're basically trying to escape out the top of your frame as if you're trying to make yourself look taller than you really are.
No, it's actually on a downward angle, which is unflattering, but I actually have no other room. When I stream on weekends, I don't really have any other room to put my camera, so that's where it sits, that's where it goes for now, so that's my excuse, yeah.
Don't know about you, chat, but that sounds like a really bad excuse to me. But let's just move away from that conversation, as we are indeed back in. As you can see, things have evolved pretty quickly right here as well. It's came down to a 4 versus 4 with 25 seconds to go. Milan's walking his way inside of Teller's, finding one for himself. What a surprise there. Rask had already found the opening kill, so a couple of kills coming through for 2 of those fraggers we touched on earlier. Pash now looking to go for a plant. Milan holding on Spiral, finds himself a second. Smoke grenades come out from towards bathroom as Vito tries to rotate up, and Rask will get put in the dirt with the help from some smoke and, of course, from some bullets. Milan shot through the wall, can't really do much to save himself. Pasha is doing his best impression of a mime, and sadly that's not going to help him. Gets put down in the dirt as well, and that's everyone dead, I think, for the side of Virtus.pro. Chaos will be able to get the defuse in and take round number 1. Well, that's cool. That's how you get thrown back into a play-by-play round. What the hell was that?
Wow, that was a very good job at realizing you have to play-by-play the very end of a round with no notice whatsoever. Smashing
and no context,
job,
help me. Thank you.
It was obvious they tried to go for a circle desk plant to begin with. They lost the player very clearly to bottom Spiral because they decided to flash it afterwards, probably the Maestro who had rotated down. And as a result, they flashed that off and were able to get a couple of kills and get the plant down. Smoke puts Rask low. Boom. You have a retake. So not the round that I thought we'd be having, especially when you can get the plant down, not almost once, but then you get it down the second time. You often think, okay, this is the opportunity for the attackers to be able to capitalize on that round. And VP showing that there's a little bit of weakness there, especially post-plant. So good on Chaos for grabbing that round. It looks like it was on the back of both Secretly and Vito there, so well done.
Well, it's a round to start things off for Chaos and on the defensive side as well. And I always recall a game they played last season against BDS that was an absolute slamming for Chaos. Didn't matter what they tried to do, whether on attack or on defense, BDS just completely ran them off the park. It wasn't a very pretty affair. But at least here with a slightly gentler start to it, it didn't come down to some crazy 1v1 at the end. Yes, there were 2 members left alive, but a round win is a round win regardless. And I imagine now that we're into flow of rounds, you are going to see that double hard breach starting to step away for Virtus.pro. Indeed, they have. The Maverick has been replaced here with a Nomad.
Well, it's good that they've been able to identify that this would be the second site, because you absolutely need a Nomad for this site. There are so many places to jump out. Look at that, Crine's prepping them all. We've got Piano Window. We've got very likely the Yellow Stairs as an option as well. So much aggression from next one here. And if you're VP right now, you're worried about every single window and door. Some feet run past as well, and this gives Rask the opportunity to understand that, yep, someone is below, but he actually doesn't care. He wants to open up the desk from below, and that's a success. Now they'll need to deal with Secretly's shield. He could also deal with that from below if they get a ping onto it. And I hope there's an air jab near these Piano windows, because the biggest thing here is that Crine can do so much damage from one window. So I want to see him either use it or get punished for using it.
Well, it looks like here Vito's being punished to kick things off. Mentioned about the downstairs play, I think they really wanted to go for it. The issue being that you do have the angles being held by the defenders on the downstairs. Crine here, the one lurking around, making sure no one is getting too comfortable inside the lobby and looking to quickly eject them from the consulate. Either way, a 5 versus 3 already for Virtus.pro. Pretty quick to take control, I must say. Much better than last round where they had that numbers advantage sat at 3 apiece with about 20 seconds to play. There is still a lot of time to go with, and they're in a 5 versus 3. Could not have started better for the boys.
They'll be able to open up the long angle from admin all the way over to projected door. And that's all company of Ace. And now Milan, well, that ADS was a freebie. Not sure about that placement there. And good night, Secretly, because that was not a good placement for him whatsoever. The desk had already been blown up. I believe his shield was gone as well. That is not a place to play if you are so exposed there. And he decided to commit his life anyway. Now it's up to Crine and Renaults, and Crine's below with the C4. When you're up against 5 players, that is not the play.
A little bit exposed in there, I think Secretly was as well, in the spot where it looks like someone's just walked him and caught him with his hand in the cookie jar. Will be found and out of the round pretty quick. It's a 4 versus 1. Crying, all quite literally crying to himself right now. He's got nothing else to do for the rest of his team. C4 comes out, nothing to be found, and naturally there is an angle being held by Virtus.pro as they had assumed full control of the building in quick time. That's more of what we expected from Virtus.pro in round one. Maybe caught off guard slightly by the site selection, but this round, much stronger.
That round was spectacular from VP. And that's not me just saying, no, I love VP as a team. I've said that they're one of my favorite attacking teams, especially in stage one, early stage one. I guess they dropped the ball coming into stage two and the end of stage one as well. I felt like they were weakening and they were getting slower with their attacks. I think this is really reminiscent of what made VP one of my favorite teams back in stage one, in how they can attack so fluently, how they know where everyone is at every time. They look really coordinated. Glad to see that now. 6 pick from the Nomad onto the Maverick. They damn well know it's going to be a downstairs, and well, we'll see exactly whether or not it's going to be a bathroom hold from Vito or not. That's an interesting one. We've seen them put mirrors on the garage wall as well. I'm hoping not to see that, but I mean, if they do play it, I hope they play it to their advantage.
Fingers crossed on that front, but I think you are right as well with seeing the double hard breach coming through. Absolutely their intent for this site, assuming that was where we would start the map. Obviously wasn't the case back in round one, as it was that press and lobby setup. One player I need to give a bit of hype to as well, Milan on the side of Virtus.pro. I swear every single week I'm shilling, and there you go, there's one on the wall there,
Vito.
Jess. Your absolute fate. And he's going to shoot it out as well. There we go. So looking to contest through that. But I think with Milan again, as a quick shout out, he currently stands as the 5th highest rated player in the whole competition. He is an absolute rookie. He has been on their sub bench for 6 months here at Virtus.pro because he was under 18 until August 30th, where he turned 18, brought into the main roster, and now is putting up incredible numbers. If you want to see who the rookie of the split is going to be, keep a very, very close eye on this guy.
Well, I can only imagine. Oh, good night. Next one. Very aggressive upstairs, and Pasha will punish him for it. You know what I think that open mirror is for, by the way, Des? I think it's actually for impact tricking the ace.
Yes. Would make a lot more sense to go throwing explosives through it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm going to make the guess that that's exactly why it's open. Vito wants to challenge that long rotate cut from the top of admin, but I don't think anyone's opened it just yet. Crime will hide off somewhere on the map, and by shooting that drone, he gives away his position, but Vito will allow him to drop down. This is good. So they're giving the false impression that, you know, someone is roaming over towards lobby. That's going to delay a lot of time, and Crime might be able to do some damage over an Visa here as someone walks on in, and oh, he'll only slightly tag WTG, which is good, but not great.
This is something that I criticised them for the other day, actually. Both them and Rogue were really bad for it. A good number of rounds came down to players being left on 20 to 40 HP because kills were just never quite completed by the side that started shooting first. And when you're playing on the roam situation like that, as next one or as Crying, holding down these really tight angles, you need to be connecting those headshots. You need to be securing those kills for your team because so many times before, Crying next one is this big, aggressive roaming duo coming out of the Lowland Lions from Challenger League. We have yet to see them hit the potential they once understood there, and whether or not that's the competition is just that much different, EUL versus Challenger League, whatever it is, it's not working the way that it used to, and ideas need to change.
Ooh, Rask, 1 HP and a
incomplete kill.
Incomplete kill. There we go. And I mean, it's not like that SMG is a pea shooter
and
or anything.
another one, Pasha.
He's able to connect these shots, and it seemed that Chaos cannot. I think the big thing there was that they relied on that mirror window on the garage to be able to destroy all the Selmas. And okay, there we go. Crime being unpredictable somewhere on the map is great. But they didn't have enough impacts to deal with all of those Selmas. He doesn't just have 2 Selmas. And here we go, Crime kicking things off. When he's unpredictable, it's great because the team can't deal with him. But VP want to get on site now and get this plant off.
They are on site with no drones left, 30 seconds and a dream. Nothing left for the, again, MVP rookie of the split so far for me in Milan. Got it all to do. We'll bring down the 3K killer of Crying in this round. They've still got to kill 2 with 20 seconds left to go. All they've got to see here, I think, from the other side is just hold tight. Don't feel the need to go hyper aggressive. Yes, Renewals is even burning through that Evil Eye to try and put him down. He must know that he's low here. And all it's going to take is a couple more shots. And there we go. Distracted by the Evil Eye, secretly off towards Pipes, connects the final shots. And Chaos take round number 3.
That round started off looking like it definitely should have been a VP round, especially with Chaos and, or more specifically, Crying. He wasn't able to connect his shots. He wasn't able to get the kills. Even Rask walking away with, you know, what was a 1 to 5 HP max. That's still huge because the play is still up. They're still able to give calls. They're still able to open things up with Ash breaking charges, has flashes, and has a gun in hand. So it's still pressure that VP could have applied. Overall, I think relying on one of those hero plays, and we speak about it a lot, you can't always rely on hero plays from a player to be able to secure a round. And that's kind of how it felt there from Chaos, that they were relying on Crying to be that thorn in the side of VP. And well, this time they'll decide to go back to lobby. I think they favor this site quite a lot, which is fair enough. It can be a really good site to hold if you've got a really good setup. And with the mirror, I think that's something that makes them quite comfortable.
Let's not forget that the Virtus.pro didn't come too far off winning this round. They did get the plant down. They were in a spot where Rask went very, very low to the smoke, had to run through the smoke to try and get away and got gunned down on the other side of it. Milan had a really strange rotate from spiral stairs to try and push out towards yellow stairs, I assume, to try and rotate through piano to hold an alternative angle, and got caught on spiral stairs by the Maestro. So a couple of occurrences there where in the post-execute, things didn't go as well for VP as maybe they would have liked, but it did start out well. So let's see if they can have similar success, and maybe for Chaos playing for the retake is absolutely their strategy for this site.
Interested to see where they did end up putting that second mirror in the first round. Probably we'll get to see it here now that they are going back there. What? Okay.
I don't hate it.
I don't love it. I'm gonna give it could grow on me.
I completely understand your concern. How easy it is to kill. I do understand. But I'm also thinking here, if they can contest this and at least make sure no one gets comfortably onto that window, it could make things quite tough, especially if you're thinking about a run out. The one thing you got to worry about, of course, is the Nomad with those air jabs down. It's not going to make life pretty. And as things stand, I imagine it's more the time-wasting factor for the attackers in thinking, right, got to get up there, got to clear the window out, then got to try and take control of it. It's another thing to think about, but isn't a particularly significant thing to think about. Appreciate the intent, but worry how long this is actually going to last for.
Well, I think it's all come out to the fact that they know VP like to do an admin push. Fair enough, but if VP spot this out, maybe they can just get one person to repel, like you said, WTG's got those air jabs to be able to play with it. Here we go. Milan, a little bit of it's been broken open there for him because, well, they wanted to smash the glass off the particular window for sound, and now he knows that someone is there. Does he have any assistance here? I believe there's a connector hold as well, so there's quite a bit of the Chaos players here, and actually an ace will open up part next to the mirror, so well, this isn't looking good here for Chaos. This particular setup might not be too strong for them.
Leviathan was forcing him into the other side. It's not going to stop Milan from getting renewals, though, but it was forcing a couple of members to start gravitating towards meeting, where you saw this kind of war for the mirror window. Apparently, it's the prized chalice of this room that needs to be kept in one piece. However, with renewals' demise, I don't expect that to be a thing that lasts too long. Milan's holding out on the balcony, as you saw, spraying down through connector as well as into meeting itself. Just trying to force the side of Chaos down from this top floor, get them downstairs, and make lives for Virtus.pro a little bit simpler. The one member they haven't yet dealt with is Crying, playing out inside a bathroom up towards the northwest. I imagine thanks to some drone work, they have a good idea he's there, but now it's how they challenge onto him that matters most.
I like that VP don't like to do that default plant through lobby double doors. They find it to be too dangerous when you've got to deal with the bathroom angles and that, especially that mirror in bathroom looking over an antechamber. So they decide to go in from bottom statue. And I think that's a great choice, especially once you do have top floor control. My biggest worry is they don't have control of sort of bottom yellow and bottom spiral. And Passion, no!
It does with the wall of the smoke! Oh, that is tragic.
Well, they're going to go for the plan anyway.
I mean, why not? He's taken one for the team. The rest of us can go in. WTG holding off the side angle, but I think that's a push that comes in through Anti-Chamber and finds one for them. So that's going to shut down the plant attempt. But it does mean Virtus.pro find 2 kills back the other way and put it into a 3 versus 2. Make that a 3 versus 1. You even got the Maestro here trying to creep up Spiral once again. But it's almost like Virtus.pro remember what happened in round number 1 and acted to counter it this time. Rask staying on Spiral where Milan was previously and not looking to push towards yellow, holds the spot and waits for the Maestro to try and push up. Good adaptation from Virtus.pro to give them a site that they lost just a few rounds back.
Yeah, I think that adaptation was probably key there. That air jab saved them, probably having the Maestro come around. The Elder has so many bullets. He could have dealt with statue or spiral stairs, and then he could have gone straight to the plant. And I don't really think there was another player there to deal with him if he had pre-fired the plant spot. So that was a good read there. Even the smokes came out to block the line of sight. Really smart, really well played. I don't think that particular mirror from Chaos worked too well. Milan helped dispatch that really quickly, and he even dispatched the mirror playing in projector. So I think Chaos has got bright ideas. I said this when they played on Oregon as well, that they've got some great, fresh ideas, pun intended, but they're just not working against the teams here in EUL. Maybe it's working in Nordic, maybe it's working against certain opponents, but at the moment, I'm just not seeing it come together in the vision that they're looking for.
I think what worries me most is they don't really have much flexibility in terms of what they can do with this roster. And that sounds weird to say. They picked up next one. They've got Crying. It's a duo together that should be playing this terrifying roam game. But I touched earlier on, I think you and I were speaking about this before the broadcast, is that next one, as a player that was prolific for the Lowland Lions, has come in and had a pretty shoddy season so far. And it's continuing even into this game. He is 0-4 so far after all 4 rounds. He has added literally nothing to this team. Not even an assist, nothing. They need him online. We commented on this on Cafe last week, where he did have not the best game, but he did contribute in some rounds. But here today, absolutely not. All the work is being left to Crying, and this is just looking like last season. It's almost like Chaos haven't had a chance to fix those issues because the player they brought in either isn't feeling confident or isn't at the right level that he was previously. Whatever it is, he's really got to sort it out. Otherwise, his team is only going to continue falling deeper and deeper into relegation territory.
Well, it's a shame that Next One and Crying play so solo. I think they'd be a powerhouse if they played together in a sort of crossfire duo to refrag and trade and to have that pinch. And Shockwave gets Vito. It's these opening picks that VP are able to get on really key players that are crippling Chaos early in the round. That's in the first 60 seconds. That there shows me that, well, VP know exactly how to get the intel they need, but not only that, they know exactly how to act on it.
We missed the first round, but otherwise they've got the opening kill in all 4 rounds since then. So it is just sheer aggression coming out of Virtus.pro. Being able to hit the heads on the side of Chaos ain't too hard in an FPS game. You look at the head, you click the left mouse button, and people die. It can get as simple as that. Apparently, Secretly also learned that trick not too long ago. Milan's gone down, putting us into a 4 versus 4. Again, I've already touched on how well Milan has done for this team, so losing him at this stage in the round, when you start to think about the execute, it's going to be painful. Down goes the ace at the same time. A 4 versus 3. Crying gets put down from above and finished off by Pasha with that pistol upstairs.
They need to go collect the diffuser as well now, because someone's going to have to replace someone on projected balcony, and it looked like Rask was going to be that way, but they might even decide to do a rotate. I'm not sure. A couple of shots raining down onto Rask now means that they've got to displace this smoke player. He'll actually get away with his life unless this smoke hits. Will it get the down, and will a DBNO become a kill?
Next one,
no, it doesn't. There we go. And now, well, Pasha's the one that's going to hold off on the top of Visa Stairs. I think the big thing here is that now that it's being nicked, this comes into a frag fest.
60 seconds to go, and I think that's the last smoke canister coming out of Secretly as well. No, he's got one left, sorry. So he used the one on the front lobby door, the one here at the top of Visa Stairs. So has one still in pocket to make use of, and it's a 2 versus 2. So it's about as close as they come with 45 seconds to play, but Secretly has that advantage of a shotgun in hand at such a tight angle. We've seen quite a few players, P4 reminding me actually from Challenger League Season 11, the player from Tempera, of a wonderful hold here in their opening round of the whole of the competition. 3 or 4 kills for himself with a shotgun on this corner. Work can be done here, but apparently Chaos still aren't fully confident of where the attackers are coming from, although a good prediction is WTG comes flying down like Spider-Man just a few seconds later.
Oh, this is just a Mexican standoff here, and it's just like, who's going to peek first? Who's going to take the engagement? Flash rains in. He uses the skeleton key instead. That was a bad decision. He's already juiced up from the dock, long range in bathroom, and well, that round was really well played there by those few sort of support players of Chaos. We said before the game, the analysts aptly pointed out that they've not been picking up the slack alongside some of the new players on Chaos. I argue they're picking up the slack in different areas you can't sort of measure. And I think that's one there. Not over-peaking, not trying to play too aggressive, making sure that they're covering each other in crossfires. You saw the dock had a really, really good angle onto that Visa entry from the bathroom. So I think they're trying to do their job. It's just we don't often get to see it.
It's a pretty tragic state of affairs, let's not lie, when secretly your support player is currently on 8 kills and your roamers collectively do not have that between them. We saw that one flash in the pan from Crying in round number 3 with a 3k for himself, the kind of play you would expect them to be getting themselves as a collective. And secretly a player that I had to give a nod to. He spent a season with Fierce playing in the UK. I'm never going to turn around and say, man, he must have learned a lot whilst he was playing in UKIN, because EUL down to UKIN is not only a 2-tier jump, but for those of us that know the UK, things can get pretty chaotic over there sometimes. But maybe it's helping in these situations where it does come down to being the only side player left, and you're coming up against, well, a couple of very apt and, well, I suppose, what's the word I'm looking for here? Skilled, able players. Probably the best way to describe what we've seen from Virtus.pro so far this season, and you still managed to clutch things out. It's keeping Chaos in the game. They've now got 3 rounds inside this half, one of them of which maybe you'd argue was all down to Cry and doing the hard work. That last round down to Secret doing hard work in the final 2 versus 2. So it's not a miles apart adventure here, but let's see what happens when we get into that second half after this round is concluded.
They're going with that garage mirror trick again, and only 2 impacts in hand. So you're only going to guarantee 2 of those summons get lost if you do manage to hit them through the mirror. That's not going to mean much. I mean, pairing it with a wall denial, in my mind, seems a stronger alternative, but they're just not doing that. It seems, and excuse my pun here, I feel like I'm just pulling them left, right, and center here. It seems like a big hole in their strategy to only rely on 2 impacts, an open mirror, and not much else to go with it. So I don't see the strength of it. I can understand the intent, but the intent is not coming out into rewards for them.
The famous words of Twisted Sister is that your best won't do in some of these rounds, but at least he's putting them up at... What?
Oh, thank you. You drone properly. I thought he was going to just do a little bit of a side sweep, just a little bit of a small check, and then just get on out of there. But thank goodness, good droning from VP here, and WTG specifically means that they won't let Cry and be a rat there in the corner of tellers.
It's our favourite word, isn't it, this season, Jess? Rat.
It is. It's a rat move. Hiding in prone in a corner there, waiting for someone to enter Visa. Rat.
Designated rat. Well, let's see if next one can do much here. Stay playing inside a bathroom, and that drone in front of him is going to say, hey, it's time to move away, because now that we know where you are, the last thing you want is to get pre-fired through the soft walls. So he's going to back away, but it's now about what he could do now that he's been found out, and apparently finding a kill is part of that. In fact, finding a second. The Rome duo finally alighting here, and it's going to be an opening kill for next one, followed up by a quick one coming out of Crying. That's Pasha and Rask, 2 of the top fraggers in this game so far for Virtus.pro, down and dead with still 65 seconds to play.
That was the roaming duo I wanted. WTG will collect Vito again. Vito's had such a bad game. It's seeming that he's just getting picked up on the support playing role more often than a support player really should. This is the duo I wanted to see. Whether or not they use their baiting buddy, you know, as we got Crying and of course, next one playing together here as a bait. That was a good play. That one wasn't. If he had stayed top spiral and had a pinch there with him, they might have been able to collect yet another trade. But it doesn't look too good here in the... I suppose the advantage that Chaos had is now no longer in their hands here.
And this is what I worry about, is you find 2 kills as roamers and you think, man, good, we're down to 60 seconds left. They have no control of ground floor. Now's the time to back away to site, hold the angles, and just keep on playing for trades. But instead, sticking out in the map a little bit, being a little bit maybe over-aggressive here on the side of Chaos has led to them being in a spot where it is indeed a 3 versus 3. Shockwave tried to make a plan happen, but it's not going to stick all the way through. Otherwise, I think it's in a spot where it looks like Chaos might actually hold on to this. They find one with the shotgun. It's down to all the 2 left. These Maestro cameras all game long have been doing a bit of work, and indeed they shall. It comes down to the time we're secretly finding the penultimate kill, or would have been the penultimate if the last had actually died. That evens things up at 3 apiece. Sorry, 4 and 2, I'm a liar, not 3 apiece.
The game hasn't felt like it's been so skewed in favor of Chaos. It's always felt like it's come down to those last second knuckle busting moments where you're like, okay, who's going to take this? That 3v3 at the end was really indicative of that. I think the biggest flaw with the attack that VP does, which is very Russian-esque, all of the Russians seem to play Consulate this way, is where they take the top floor and move down in that fashion every single time, no matter the site. So when you do that with the bottom floor and you're getting delayed like by players like Next One, by players like Crying, you're having to drone over and over again. By the time you get to site, you can't deal with the Maestro cams because you either have no utility left, or if you do, you're out of time. So that's the biggest weakness of employing an attack like that. And if you're going to commit to that, you've got to be more time savvy.
I'm really keen to see how the second half goes, to be honest with you, because for Chaos after that first half, I'm feeling optimistic. This is a map that I think, as we all know, a lot like Coastline, you do see a bit of attacker lean on sometimes. And I know you and I sit here and lament, oh, it's attacker sided, it's defender sided, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But because of how the map is shaped, I always like saying those things when there is reason provided. Given many of the sites border onto windows, doorways that are external facing, given the many, many windows attackers can actually rely on, I do think you find a very good case to say attackers actually have very easy access to sites. There's no crazy stuff going on in perimeter rooms. It should be pretty comfortable. So with it being 4-2 off the back of a defensive half, I'd say for Chaos, it's been a pretty good start. Now they've got to convert it. And my God, let's not forget, if they win here today, they at least temporarily, of course, we'll see how Tempera's game goes later, they will be on the same number of points as Tempera. And that suddenly makes this a very, very interesting final few play days to see who finishes in that 9th and 10th spot and heads towards relegation.
I bet you Tempera hoping it's only temporarily. All right, I'm going to cap it there, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not even going to entertain that kind of speech, Miss Bolden.
It was good.
I actually forgot your second name there for a second, I won't lie.
Wow.
I didn't want to say Miss Goat.
Speaking of the GOAT, well, looks like Pasha's trying to make a big impact on their start of their defensive half. The biggest thing now is that they're not dealing with Rask, and ooh, yes they are.
Yikes.
And he dealt with him in a way that he thought it was going to be a jump out, but what happened was the glass broke as soon as Rask shot it, and as a result, he was giving away his position no matter what he did, and now next one misses out on an easy
Shockwave's
kill,
down.
but doesn't matter. He'll go down. They've got a drone on him. They know. No dock in play here, and oh, this is looking really bad for VP now. This yellow stairs take. We know Chaos are good at it, and they're showing their expertise here today.
Crumbling when it comes down to the most important part of the round. Virtus.pro here. That initial hold is a big one for them, but somehow this has happened now a couple of times this map where they've been down in numbers at 5 versus 3 and still managed to collect kills back and forth. Pasha's in a 1 versus 2. I think he's the man who can when it comes down to clutch situations like these. You're up against the old faithful in renewals and the clutch god of this game so far, secretly on 11 kills after just 7 rounds. Can he do this all by himself? Something tells me it's a very tall order, Jess.
He's got about 30 HP as well. They know his exact position. A little cheeky wallbang there from Renaults with the ARX, and that caps things off in a round that I probably thought was the most confident out of Chaos so far. They knew exactly what they needed to do, where they needed to look. Rask gave his ways position in benches. It was predictable. It almost felt like Chaos had read the book of VP's strats and gone, yeah, we know exactly how you're going to play this. We'll do the yellow stairs take. If you try and jump out below, we're ready for you. And in fact, they invited it even. So I'm feeling really confident for the second half here for Chaos. I didn't predict the game going this way at all. And probably down to the fact that, what was it, last play day or even the play day before, we criticized guys like Secretly and whatnot for having a really low rating. Well, they're making up for it now.
In my notes I had for this game coming into it, I was doing my prep last night, sat there with a cup of coffee at silly o'clock because caffeine somehow does not touch me, zero idea why. And the notes I made of Virtus.pro in general was, no one wants to touch me. Not even my missus. She runs away. Either way, with Virtus.pro, the way I look at it, trust me, she's at work. She hasn't run away forever, I hope. Either way, the way I looked at it for Virtus.pro last season, they came out swinging, I said, in this stage. They had a really good start so far. They've on themselves a draw and 3 wins. Last stage was patchy. Games that you expected them to win, they didn't. Games that you didn't think they would win, they did. And they managed to finish in 4th place on a technicality. They were tied for points of 1st place with Na'Vi and managed to be the ones that head through to the major. That wasn't the team that we saw appear at the European Open Clash before that got started. So it was a time of discovery for Virtus.pro. This stage just looks a lot better. The thing I now worry about with a result like this, if this goes 6-2 Chaos and eventually goes through to being 7-3, 7-4, whatever you want to call it, is this one of those patchy affairs again for Virtus.pro, or are Chaos genuinely starting to stack up? Although a lot of it today, admittedly, has been on the back of Secretly.
I think the problem is that the multiple times I've spoken positives about Chaos and their winning games, I go to look at the statistics after the game, you know, CGG puts them out and I go, oh, wow, that player. And I stop myself and I go, I shouldn't say that. That team stepped up. But did I feel that? No. And did the stats return that kind of thought to me? No. And I think that's the thing I think about Chaos every time, is that each time they have a win, I'm always caught saying that player stepped up rather than that team stepped up. And that
it's a very good point.
Oh God. Rest in peace, Vito. Jesus Lord.
I love how you sound so disgusted by a kill as if you haven't seen
disgusting.
about 10 million of them during your lifetime in playing, coaching, and casting Siege. Either way, it's still filth. That's what counts. It's Vito down. Admittedly, the lowest kill player in the game, so not too bad in terms of the fragging front if we're now talking about individual players for Chaos here. I do agree with your point. It's why I'll always never say I don't want to rely on stats only. It's also got to come down to having the information around how certain rounds or how the game felt whilst watching it as well. This round is absolute domination for Virtus.pro, though. 3 kills to kick things off. Both Crying and Next One are dead. The entries are gone. Vito on the sledge is gone. You have a Nomad and an Ace left alive here. A lot of work for the pairing to do. They almost kill a couple. In fact, Pasha gets out and finds himself a triple kill. Clearly looking at Crying in round number 3 and saying, hey, buddy, I can do that as well. Have a taste of your own medicine, and is keeping Virtus.pro alive here. This should put things up to 5-3 very shortly, and that means you have a game in our hands, Jess.
I just giggled that entire round. Whether or not it was just a triple kill from Pasha. You know, the reason he was able to get that second kill upstairs was because they had a default cam up and he yellow pinged with it. I mean, you can't be making those mistakes. The reason he was allowed to rotate down yellow was because Renault's missed the rotate down from yellow. He was holding a pixel pick over to piano instead of the pixel pick over to yellow. Little mistakes make big ones. That's what's happened here now for Chaos.
Yeah, put yourself under no illusions to be able to recover a diffuser or kill all 4 members. Probably isn't Renewal's repertoire for this game. Try as he might, I still think this is going to be a Virtus.pro round. So if you assume things are setting up 5-3, you assume he tries his best to recover the diffuser and assume he tries his best to make something happen. Where do we go from there? Because that will have put us in a spot where Chaos looking good in the last round. Well, I say looking good, it was more down to finding 3 kills in the opening. This round, they have been completely shut outside of the building. So 2 very contrasting rounds. Not yet got a feel for what a normal round here with Virtus.pro on the defense really feels like.
Well, we were speaking before about how we feel like Chaos has some of those, like, you know, big fraggers that step up at the moment, secretly stepping up for his team. And I wouldn't even say I would call him a big fragger. I just think he's been consistent in every round, which has really elevated them to this scoreline now. That last round, Pasha was that player for VP. But it was more visible that his other teammates were doing work. And we saw the yellow ping as soon as we swapped to his perspective. You can then see the yellow ping, and we swapped to another who was using that default cam. So we could see those coming into action. I'm wondering whether or not that's something that Chaos is or was missing on defense and now is sort of jarring them in their ability to get more confident rounds. Now that we go to lobby, I think the biggest thing for VP in the weakness I've seen in this matchup is that their setup has been okay and their ability to play together has been okay, but they peak a lot. It's like they can't help themselves, but as soon as they know the location of someone, they want to go and peek it. And really key players here from the Chaos, I should say, are holding angles. And that's how you deal with aggression. Instead of trying to fight fire with fire sometimes, hold the angle, wait for them to come to you, collect the free kill and go. And I think that's how Chaos has been really trying to deal with this.
In that last round, my notes that I literally put down was Pasha went for a walk, killed 3 people, the round was done. Because he did quite literally sit at the top of yellow stairs and go roaming off downstairs, find another, and before you know it, Renewals was left all alone trying to achieve something. Those are those rounds, and I always say this every single broadcast, it's the round where if a player steps up and finds himself a 3K, I tend to write those rounds off of being too influential on my opinion of the game because it was down to one player's excellence more often than not than it was so much down to a team doing badly. So give it another round. We'll see how it plays out for Chaos here, if they can continue that streak that they had of 3 rounds in a row between rounds 5 and 7, or if Virtus.pro start the fight back. But let's not forget, a single round more for Chaos here will guarantee them at least a draw. And given how low on points they are right now, every single point counts.
Did he just shoot that air jab off? No.
I don't know, Jess. I was telling a grand story. I was hoping that you were watching the game.
I was watching, and I'm pretty sure they put it in between the arc at the top of the window there, and that actually puts the air jab further out and allows him to prone and shoot it. So I hope they didn't make that critical mistake there. I'm unsure. I can't hear it. I'll need to turn the game up further, and maybe we'll be able to get a bit of an indication. I am right. I'm getting told by the observer.
You are right.
Confirms that's perfect. But next one says it doesn't matter if we've got an air jab off the window. We're going to enter in on these plays. And like I said, VP can't help themselves but peak, and it's put themselves at a disadvantage now. Chaos, they're just toying with them now.
Hey, what do you know? Next one's starting to find some kills after a pretty shoddy first 4 or 5 rounds. He is starting to step up and find himself the odd kill here and there. Puts him up to 5 here in just the last few rounds. So it's not the super high impact that Chaos need, but it is something, and it's definitely helping them get towards the finish line. One thing I always pay very, very close attention to here as we go into the last 90 seconds is the number of remaining drones. There are 3 left alive for Chaos here. This is going to be very, very blind on the attack, and let's not forget, they've got to deal with the pulse on the other side still.
Good angle opened up there, but Reynolds is finally able to get a kill, and now it's all up to Shockwave and Rask. If two players can do it, it probably would be Rask and Shockwave. A lot of experience in the side of Shockwave and a lot of gunpowder, or rather gunfire and power there in the hands of Rask. But he's got the UMP and, well, as someone would say, Canadian, say that's the worst weapon in the game. So it's not one you really want to be trying to have a clutch with. C4 collects one, and now it's very doable here for VP, but this is a site that you can really manipulate as an attacker and force them to be cut out, especially in anti-chamber.
Sat here waiting for these angles, and now they know where Vito is as well, given he's trying to challenge back through. It is pulling in 3 versus 2, and look at that. That's crying, sorry, Rask, I think it is, sorry, pinned in a corner by himself and will get collapsed on by Secretly as they put it down to a 1 versus 3. Chaos, after all they've endured, a win last week was their first across both stages of EUL, are now 1 round away from securing 2 wins in a row. That sounds genuinely insane to say. Oh my word. In 2 play days, they could have got more points than they did for the entirety of last stage. That's just how crazy this is looking.
We really can't underestimate the impact that will have on the standings as well. Because like I said last week during one of the desks, actually, I think I said it, I said it on Wednesday, was that Chaos having won that game, and I was the only one to correctly predict it, because let's be frank, sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard, I mean, you don't get a lot of faith from viewers, you don't get a lot of faith from, the analysts, the predictors, everything like that. So you're just genuinely sitting there going, what can we do to get out of this slump? They bring in 2 big players who today are actually not really having the best of games, if you ask me. Next one is particularly hasn't been having too many good games, but enough that they're pulling themselves out of the slump. To get out of the auto relegation spot would be massive. To be able to do that on the points they're on now, and I think they're only on single-digit points compared to the rest of the teams over these past 2 stages, that's a very tall feat. It's something that you cannot almost or ever expect a team to be able to pull out. And if they win this game and the next game, they would be above Temper in points, depending on how Temper's games go. And that puts Temper in the auto relegation seat. Yikes.
Yep. I was sat doing the math with someone the other day, going over, who do we expect to win these games that are coming up? And the way I worded it out, I think, was that I would see the team sat when it comes towards the closing couple of weeks as both teams being on 16 points. That's how crazy it could get when it comes down to it, if games go the way that I expect them to. I think Chaos can pick up a couple more results. Tempera, a little bit less so. They'll get 4 points potentially over the next 4 or 5 play days.
Wow.
Figure that what you will. It's going to be a real spicy end to the season, and I'm sure Hap is sat somewhere frothing at the mouth right now at the thoughts of working out all these possible scenarios for us.
I hope VP has learned from that early aggression and gone, no, Chaos has read us like a book. This is not working for us. Looking at every door and window, as Joe from Na'Vi would, has not worked in any way, shape, or form. Stop it. That's what I want to see, because they've got to win the next 3 rounds in a row to even secure themselves 1 singular measly point. And considering their top 4, you want to see that from VP. You want to see them continue those really good results. Today, not looking good, looking like Chaos are just walking all over them.
They've got to play all 3 sites as well as the worst parts. Even the offsite needs to be won. And in these last 3 rounds, the one that they have won was where Pasha found that 3K whilst on his daily stroll around Consulate. So that's a normal thing that players like to do. The other 2 rounds both went the way to Chaos. So I'm concerned here. The VP, as of yet, haven't yet had a successful team defense. They've had an individual member defending well, but as a team haven't achieved that. Whereas Chaos, looking pretty good in the 2 rounds that they have won. We'll see if they close it out here at 7-3, because my God, will that be one for the Bucks when they look back on this at the end of the season and they're still in EUL and 2 teams are potentially below them. This will be the time they look at it and go, damn, yeah, that was when we really started to believe in ourselves, secretly especially.
Oh, you're
Perry is
speaking
again.
of the man. Speak it into existence, Des, because there it is, Shockwave down. And I tell you what, if you take out that key support player of Shockwave, it just bodes very poorly for VP in this particular round. We said they have to win the next 3 in a row. Rask, he's been doing pretty good there, and that explosion won't connect at all. He was up on the desk. And that comes out of experience. I think Reynolds is a very experienced player. In fact, he's one of the oldest players in the league.
It's like 42, isn't he?
In the world, in the world in professional play. So that comes with experience, knowing you never drone on something that can be breachable from below. And now, well, that's a C4 wasted. That's Rask's job gone as well. And did he just get hit by a magnet from his teammate? Come on, boys.
Apparently so. Still does the job of keeping him alive as grenades come singing through. By the way, that joke about renewals, definitely a joke. I'm fully aware he's not that old. Don't worry. Just a nice little joke behind the Nordics for the longest time in case someone hears that and thinks, man, Des is a right idiot, isn't he? Chaos are the only ones laughing at jokes right now, though. They're singing their way through to a victory here. 5 versus 2. The plant is going down for Virtus.pro. No doubt looking at this one on paper and thinking, man, that's an easy 3 points. But Chaos, man, they have been underestimated today. That plant is down. 40 seconds stand between them and another essential 3 points in their fight against relegation. It's a 5 versus 1. It's a flawless round for Chaos to close things out. What a game coming out of the boys. And like that has said, in two games, they have got more points than in all of stage 1. And their survival hopes are now well and truly alive. It is a burning bonfire for them. And I can't wait to see how their future weeks go.
To cap it off in a flawless round as well, really bodes well for them. They won the last game. We didn't expect it. I kind of threw them a vote to say, yeah, you might be able to pull this one away. And a win against VP here solidifies one thing in my mind. Shout out to the support staff. Shout out to those players. We can tell you've been putting in work and, well, you're walking away with those